The sergeant who trained you said 3 things on your first day. Don't make promises, don't take favors, and never, under any circumstances, learn the names the inmates use for each other. You broke all 3 by the end of week 2. This is not a story about a bad person doing bad things. It's a story about a system so well designed that good people walk into it, make a series of completely reasonable decisions, and come out the other side as someone they don't fully recognize. You are about to learn how a maximum security prison actually works. Not the version in the briefing room. The real one. Pay attention. Some of this you won't be able to unlearn. Level 1, Orientation Day. The facility smells like industrial cleaner and recycled air. That never changes. After 6 weeks, you stop noticing it, which is its own kind of warning. You arrive 20 minutes early on your first shift because that's who you are. The badge they hand you still has a slight chemical smell from the laminator. You clip it to your shirt like it means something. It does, just not what you think yet. The orientation sergeant is a man named Calloway. He has the delivery of someone who has given this exact speech 400 times and stopped caring whether it lands around attempt 200. He walks you through facility zones, radio protocol, incident classification, use of force guidelines, chain of command. He uses a laminated map that is missing one of its corners. Nobody has replaced it. You write things down. You ask 2 questions. Calloway answers them accurately and completely, which you will later understand was the last completely honest information you received inside this building. Your assigned partner for the first rotation is a man named Reyes. 12 years on the block. Compact, unhurried. Speaks about 30 words per hour. He walks you through your first shift without explaining anything. Just moves through the facility at a specific pace, taking specific routes, pausing at specific corners. You assume this is efficiency. It is something else. Pod C is a third stop. 42 men in a space that was designed for 34. The noise is constant but layered, not chaos, more like a crowded restaurant where every table is having a conversation you're not part of. Reyes moves through it like a man walking through his own kitchen. That's when you see it. An inmate near the far table makes eye contact with Reyes. Brief, direct. Reyes gives a nod so small you almost miss it. The inmate looks away. Reyes keeps walking. The whole thing takes maybe 2 seconds. You file it away. At the end of the shift in the parking lot, you ask Reyes how long it takes to learn everyone's names. He looks at you for a moment. The official names, he says, you'll have in 3 weeks. The other names, the ones that actually matter, I'd hold off on those. You ask him what that means. Everything you learned today, he says, putting on his jacket, that's the map they want you to use. He opens his car door. Tomorrow I'll show you the real one. He drives away. You sit in the parking lot for a moment longer than necessary. Level 2, the real map. Reyes doesn't sit you down for this conversation. He walks you through it in motion, block by block, junction by junction, like a man giving directions to a city he knows too well. The official power structure is simple. Administration at the top, lieutenants below them, officers on the floor, inmates at the bottom. Clean lines, clear authority. That structure is real. It governs paperwork, scheduling, disciplinary hearings, parole recommendations. It is the government of the facility. But there is a second government. It has no org chart, no official recognition, no documentation of any kind. It exists in the spaces between the official lines and has been running continuously. Reyes tells you, for longer than either of you have been alive, certain inmates control things, not through violence or not primarily through violence, but through information, relationships, and logistics. They know who owes what to whom. They mediate conflicts before they become incidents. They regulate the flow of contraband not to enrich themselves alone, but to maintain a specific equilibrium. Too much product and the block gets volatile. Too little and the pressure builds differently. The people who manage this understand a facility the way a building manager understands a boiler room, not glamorously, but functionally. Guards who understand the system and work within it have quieter blocks, fewer incidents, better performance reviews, longer careers. Guards who don't, who come in hot with the rule book and zero flexibility, generate paperwork, conflict, and eventually a transfer request. Several of them have been hurt. One, Reyes mentions without elaborating, is no longer in corrections. I'm not telling you to be dirty, Reyes says. He says it flatly, like he said it before. I'm telling you the building has a physics. You can fight the physics or you can understand it. The physics doesn't care either way. You ask him where he draws his line. He thinks about it. I don't move product. I don't threaten anyone. I don't falsify anything that goes to a court. He pauses. Everything else I evaluate case by case. You're processing this when he stops walking. Ahead of you in the corridor, moving at an easy pace, is an inmate you haven't seen before. Tall, late 30s. He has a particular quality of stillness that belongs to people who have learned to be the calmest person in any room because it costs them nothing and communicates everything. He stops in front of you, looks at you for a long moment, not threatening, evaluating. New boots, he says. Then he continues walking. That's Decker, Reyes says quietly. He runs Pod C in half a B. If he's looking at you, that means he's already decided you're worth looking at. He starts walking again. Take that however you want. You take it as a warning. Later you'll understand it was an introduction. Level 3, the first favor. 3 weeks in. You know the routes now, the faces, the rhythms. The radio chatter has started to make sense. You've had 2 minor incidents, both handled correctly, both logged accurately, both reviewed without issue. You are, by every official measure, performing well. Then the situation in Pod C. An inmate named Torres gets into a verbal altercation near the showers. Minor. No contact. By the time you arrive, it's already over. Torres is back at his cell. The other party, an inmate named Webb, is doing the same. Nothing happened, except something almost happened. And the report you're required to file will trigger a pattern review, because Torres has been flagged 3 times in 60 days, and a 4th flag puts him in front of a disciplinary board. Reyes isn't on shift. An officer named Daniels is. He's been here 11 years. He is not an obviously corrupt man. He is a tired man who has learned that certain forms of accuracy create more problems than they solve. You can file it straight, Daniels says. He's not pressuring you. He's genuinely presenting options. Or you can log it as a non-incident welfare check. Torres goes to the board. The board adds 90 days. And you've got a man who spent 90 extra days in here for something that didn't happen. Your call. He leaves you alone with the form. You sit with it. You tell yourself, the outcome is the same. Torres didn't do anything that merits 90 days. The flag system is oversensitive. You're not lying. You're correcting for a broken mechanism. You are, in your own framing, doing the more just thing. You file it as a welfare check. The moment you submit the form, something in the room feels different, not dramatic. The lights don't change. No one is watching. It's more like the almost imperceptible shift of a door closing behind you somewhere down a hall. That evening, passing through C Block on your way to the rotation change, Decker's associate, a quiet man who goes by Sal, walks past you. He doesn't look at you, but as he passes, he says very quietly, "Good call today." You hadn't spoken to anyone about it. That night you call home. Your partner asks how work was. You say, "Quiet." It's the first lie. It feels like nothing. That's the part that should worry you. 3 days later, there's an envelope in your locker. No note. Inside, $300 in cash and a folded piece of paper. It says, "Welcome." You should put it in an evidence bag. You know that. Instead, you stand there holding it for a long time. Then you put it in your jacket pocket. Level 4, inside the machine. Weeks pass the way they do inside, in blocks of routine, punctuated by incidents that briefly clarify things and then settle back into the same noise. You've been quietly useful. Nothing dramatic. A form here. A look the other way there. You tell yourself you've drawn your own version of Reyes's line. You tell yourself the line is holding. But you start to see what the system costs. Not in abstract moral terms, but in specific faces and specific bodies. There's a guard on B Block named Ferris. 19 years. Knows every inmate by name, cell number, grievance history, family status. He is an encyclopedia of this facility, and he is completely empty behind the eyes. He hasn't had a conversation that lasted longer than 4 sentences since long before you arrived. He processes his shifts like a machine running a program. You look at him sometimes and try to find the man who started this job, and you can't locate him anywhere. There are inmates who've adapted so completely to the politics of the place that they've shed everything else. They are fluent in the facility's language and illiterate in any other. They manage faction relationships with the precision of diplomats, and they cannot remember how to talk to their families on visiting day. And then there's Marcus, 22 years old, in for 18 months served. Smart in the specific way that makes a place like this dangerous for a person, observant enough to understand the dynamics, not powerful enough yet to navigate them. 2 factions have been quietly competing for his allegiance. He doesn't want to belong to either of them. That's not a position facility is designed to accommodate. One afternoon, Marcus stops near your post. He doesn't ask for anything. He just looks out the narrow window at the strip of sky visible between the buildings. "Can I ask you something?" he says. You say yes. "Do you think people can actually change in here?" He's still looking at the window. "Or does the place just change what kind of person you already were?" You don't have an answer. You give him something neutral. He nods and moves on. That question stays with you in a way that nothing else from those weeks does. A few days later, Reyes finds you before your shift. He's calm, but there's something careful in the way he positions himself. "There's an internal review," he says quietly. "Staffing irregularities. They're looking at me." He pauses. "They're also looking at some of the people I've worked closely with." You ask what that means. "It means," he says, "that you should be thoughtful about what you say to anyone official in the next few weeks." He starts to leave, then stops. "You haven't done anything that can end your career. Just remember what that means. What it also means is that you've done enough that it complicates things." He walks away. That afternoon, the lieutenant, the one who watched you in the yard on your second week, stops you in the corridor. "How are you settling in?" he asks. It's a casual question. His eyes are not casual. "Good," you say. He nods slowly. "Good," he repeats. It's good when people find their footing. He seems satisfied with something. You can't tell what. "Let me know if you need anything." He walks away. You are a person of interest in an investigation. You have $300 in a jacket in your closet at home, and you just gave an answer that meant something to a man whose agenda you do not understand. Level 5, the full shape. The investigation produces documents. You aren't supposed to see them. You see them. You've been thinking about the system in this facility as a secret, a thing some people know and others don't, a hidden layer that exists alongside the official structure. What the documents show you is something different, and it takes you a moment to process it, the way it takes your eyes a moment to adjust when a light comes on in a dark room. The informal system isn't hidden from administration. It isn't tolerated by administration. It is maintained by administration. For 11 years, the facility has operated with an unofficial policy. As long as the dominant inmate networks keep violence below a certain threshold and ensure the daily incident rate stays within acceptable parameters, their logistics infrastructure is allowed to function. The arrangement is never written down. It is understood. It has been passed from one facility director to the next the way you'd pass on a building's quirks to whoever is taking over the lease. Decker's network and the facility's administration are not adversaries. They are partners in production of acceptable statistics. The guards who are complicit, the ones who file adjusted reports, who look the other way at specific moments, who allow certain movements through certain checkpoints. They are not rogue officers corrupting a clean system. They are the system, functioning exactly as designed. The people who cause problems are the ones who don't understand this, who push back, who file accurate reports and trigger reviews that expose the arrangement. Those people get transferred, investigated. Some of them have found their careers very suddenly over in ways that were never officially connected to anything. You were not corrupted. You were recruited. You sit with that for a long time. Then you find the note. Marcus had passed it through a channel you had quietly maintained, a pathway that allowed certain communications out of block. You had told yourself it was a humane gesture, allowing men contact with their families. You had not asked what else used that channel. The note is addressed to his mother. "I'm trying to stay safe. There are people in here who are supposed to protect us. Some of them are part of what I'm afraid of. I don't know who to tell. I don't know if telling makes it better or worse. I'm trying to figure out who I am in here without becoming someone I don't recognize. I think about you every day. You read it twice. Then an investigator contacts you. Off the record, they tell you that if you cooperate fully, your exposure can be managed. You are small. They want the architecture, not the components. That evening, someone else finds you. Informal, friendly. They mention, without any apparent malice, a guard who cooperated with a similar investigation 8 years ago. Protected status. Agreed to testify. Transfer approved within the week. The case collapsed on a procedural issue before it went to trial. That guard now works a night shift at a county facility 4 hours from his family. His car has been vandalized 3 times. You have 48 hours. 3 options, none of them clean. Level 6, walking out. The parking lot smells like rain and diesel exhaust. It always smells like this in the morning. You've been in there long enough now that you notice it only when you're leaving, the way you only notice the noise of a place once it stops. You made your choice. The details of it don't matter as much as you thought they would. Going in, what matters, what you're still carrying as you cross the parking lot, is what the choice cost regardless of which one it was. Because every option on that table required you to accept something about who you are now and what you participated in. And there is no version of the decision where you walk out the same person who walked in. You think about Reyes. Whether he knew, on day 2, exactly where you'd end up. Whether the real map he offered you was a gift or a door he was holding open because he needed someone to walk through it. You stop being sure those are different things. You think about Calloway and his laminated map with the missing corner. The whole orientation feels different now. Not like a briefing, but like a staging. Like the first act of a play where the scenery is designed to look like the real world until the lights change. You think about Marcus's note. You hope it reached his mother. You don't know if it did. That channel ran through you, and you don't know everything that moved through it or what it cost the people who used it. What you know is this: the facility will keep running. The numbers will stay acceptable. Someone will fill your post. They will receive the same orientation from Calloway. They will be paired with someone like Reyes. They will see a nod in Pod C and file it away. The machine does not need you specifically. It just needs the next person to make a series of reasonable decisions. Across the lot, near the entrance gate, a new guard is walking toward the building. Young. He's holding his badge like it's something that will protect him. He has that look, the one that means he still believes what they told him in training. He sees you and nods. You nod back. You get in the car. Some things you only understand from the inside, and once you understand them, there is no outside left to go back to. There's only the question you'll carry with you from here. Not what you did, but who you were willing to become, and whether those two things will ever feel like the same answer.